Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mentally Business. I am your host, C.Brewer Dickerson, and today is episode number 94. The countdown is getting really intense. The official launch of the podcast drops on our 100th episode, so we are almost there. So, today's content, we are talking about revealing and removing. So, before I get into it, I want to introduce myself. I'm a licensed professional counselor. Practicing here in the state of Arkansas, I am a business coach for new therapists. I teach them how to set up, structure, and market their private practice without relying on directories or paid ads. And I teach therapists how to do this by using relationship based marketing as their most effective strategy. I am a professional speaker. I have spoken over 300 times, and it's been really fun, really exciting. In person and virtual. We are even booking speaking engagements for the upcoming year, even now for conferences and webinars, panel discussions, keynotes, the whole thing. And it's really been fun and exciting for us to be able to be a part of for these different events. I love what I do. I am also the author of the book Thought Life Confessions. And if you do not have it, it is available on my website, cbrewerconsulting.com. So let's get into the content for today. We are talking about revealing and removing. This is a behind the scenes conversation about utilizing and just understanding how to put people in different places in your life for different seasons. And I just wanted to share a little bit of what that journey has been like for me. So, just to give you guys some background about my story, won't be too long, but I need to give you some context about why this conversation is so important for me to share at this point in my life and on my journey. Um, just being a person who has always been very strong, very independent, very motivated, ambitious. I don't need a lot of cheerleading to get stuff done. I'm very much so an initiator. I get stuff done, but a lot of that just get up and get it done is a trauma response for me. Just going through my journey of grief, of losing, both my parents at an early age, and just having to be very independent for a very long time, and even being the only child still at home came with another level of independence. I didn't have anyone to share chores with, and the people I played with were friends and cousins from down the street. So it wasn't like anyone in the home that I could just play with for the majority of my life. But I learned how to be very independent, and I learned how to thrive in that. And so even after the journey with grief, with which is let me not even say after, because that's still an ongoing thing, different triggers, different seasons of life. And I think those of you who have experienced grief, you understand this is an ongoing healing process, and sometimes it happens, for the rest of your life. But just the level of independence that I have sometimes is a trauma response. So, me even getting to the point where I could hire a team was huge for me, because it literally required me to relinquish control and to trust that the people that we have hired in the company are great at what they do. They're skilled, they're talented, they're trustworthy. We don't have to micromanage, but it was still like, oh my goodness, I have help. And this is help that I have asked for, I have prayed for. And they are literally like to the T, very specific to what I need and what the company needs. But just with that whole context, it is sometimes difficult for me to attach and detach when it comes to making the business decisions, because it also affects my personal life. So, with this concept of just revealing and removing, a lot of my prayers in this fourth quarter of the year have been about wisdom and asking God for discernment of what to do, what not to do, and how to move forward and how to be more strategic in what we're doing. I follow Dr. Darius Daniels. He's one of my favorite pastors and teachers and coaches and entrepreneurs, and just really, I don't even know how to describe him, but he's been very influential in my life. He's my mentor in my head, even though I've never met him. I have all his books and I listen to him every week, but he talks about just not wasting your pain. And that's really where I'm at in this season of life. I know that my story is powerful, and all the things that I've worked through, all the things I've had to overcome, and all of the things that still are hard for me to do. In spite of that, I know sometimes a lot of people They look at me, they're like, "Oh, you're so successful, you're educated, and you've got this thriving business, and you're hiring people, and you're doing this, you're doing that." All those things are true, all those things are facts, but it doesn't mean that I don't struggle sometimes mentally and emotionally. Even though I'm an advocate for mental health, I'm also human. And so I've had to be very gracious to myself and give myself self compassion in this season where I'm asking God to give me wisdom. And with the wisdom that I'm asking for, it is for Him to reveal to me what I need to see, who I need to see, how I need to see them, and also to remove them from me if they're no longer good for me or if they're not able to go with me into the next season of life. And not that, and I teach on this too in Thought Life Confessions. I'm not like a success addict. I'm not this ascension junkie where everything has to be go to the next level, go to the next level. It's cool, but sometimes the next level is a slower pace of life. Sometimes the next level is not like a higher level, it's a deeper level just in terms of the intimacy and the quality of relationships. And so when I'm asking God to remove people who are not a good fit to be in that intimate space and to be in that intimate environment with me in this next season, some of those removals hurt. And it exposed a lot of things. It exposed a lot of things that were near and dear to my heart. It also exposed just the reality of the fact that some people were only close to me because they wanted to latch on to the success that I'm creating and not really deposit into me. They just wanted to take withdrawals. And so, me wrapping my mind around it, seeing that, feeling that, and asking God to protect my heart because it does hurt, and I did have people close to me this year. It has been a process, and it has been such an experience, but it literally describes what the year has been like. It's been constantly revealing and removing people, revealing what's working and removing the things that are not, revealing where I need to be and where I need to spend my time, and removing myself from things that are no longer serving me or things where I'm just at capacity for them. And that has been very, very difficult for me. So I had to be open to just understanding and accepting that in order for me to say yes to my next, I needed to do some things differently. Number one thing is I needed to get some rest, including my voice. So as we're scheduling times, I'm not doing for the upcoming year, I'm not doing like back to back speaking engagements for days at a time and possibly seeing therapy clients in the morning. I have to conserve my voice and to take care of my instrument. But I needed to get some rest. And within that rest came this clarity and refocusing, which is where a lot of the revealing has happened is through resting. And so the number one thing I got out of it is that I need to be able to say no to opportunities that did not align. All day, every day, I am getting emails and DMs from people saying, "Hey, let's collab, let's do this. I think you'd be a good fit. Think you'd be a good fit." And sometimes I really am, but if it's not aligned with big picture and where we're trying to go with our family, where we're trying to go with our company and what we need mentally and emotionally and spiritually and financially, if it's not aligned, I'm probably not going to do it. And we want to serve, but we're not going to be serving at the expense of my exhaustion and depletion. And so I had to accept the fact that I am older. I'm officially like in my 30s at this point, and I can't be up all night like I used to in my 20s. I need rest. Like if I don't get my 8 to 10 hours, I can be kind of cranky sometimes. I'm all about grinding and hustling. I do work hard. I'm very efficient at what I do, but even in the grind, I think more importantly, I'm looking for grace over the grind all day, grace over the grind, grace over the grind. And I have that, in the office on post-it notes because sometimes I can really get committed to working hard and I have to realize that, God's grace is sufficient for me. So in the areas where I'm not perfect and I'm not completely efficient in all areas, wherever I'm a little bit off at, then God's grace makes up the difference in that. And I have to allow him to reveal that to me constantly. And that's that interdependence on who God is and who he is in my life and the way I run my business and the way that I lead. But this has been a process for me. So number one, I had to learn how to say no to the opportunities that did not align with what we're trying to do. And number two, I had to be able to say yes to the new life that I'm trying to experience. And when I say new life, I mean a life of ease, a life of grace and love and beautiful memories, a life that is less stressful, a life that has more white space on the calendar. So not meetings all day, not appointments all day. I'm an introvert, right? I have to conserve some of my energy and just my presence and start delegating some of these things to my team. And so if there is something I need to show up for, then yes, I'm going to show up for that absolutely 100% and in excellence because I value that strongly. But this is still this ebb and flow, intricate dance of revealing and removing so that I don't overcommit and I don't find myself more exhausted and running into compassion fatigue. Like I teach on setting boundaries and getting rest and doing all the things that can really serve you well and make you feel good about the work that you're doing in the world. And because of that, I'm really intentional about my commitments and about the obligations that we take on. So whenever you see my team and I doing live videos or on a podcast or making a post that says, hey, we're accepting bookings for the next year, that's intentional because we have a number of bookings that we're going to be able to take for speaking engagements next year. And once we have met that number, that's about it because I know what my capacity is and how many speaking engagements I can do within a month. So there is an urgency to get those spots filled so we can settle in to more family life and deepening those connections with our in-laws and extended family and things like that. But I have been able to really see on the other side of this revealing that there's only so much of me to go around. And I think I'm great at what I do, but there's only so much of me to go around. And I'm grateful for all of the opportunities, but I'm even more grateful for God removing the people who were not really in it for me, removing the people who just wanted to learn from me and constantly pick my brain and not really have anything to offer or contribute to the relationship. And granted, I'm not saying that every person in your life should be giving you all this wisdom and just mastermind quality brainstorming experience. Everybody isn't going to do that. But if you're offering wisdom or insight or ideas and creativity, and the other person at minimum could be praying for you, or at minimum could be introducing you to their contacts, at minimum could be really checking in on you saying, hey, how you doing, what are you working on, how can I help, how can I support you in what you're doing, knowing that they often ask something from you. If it's not working, then maybe a relationship to consider removing. And I'm not talking about cut them off, don't talk to them ever, but just removing the level of access or removing the frequency of communication because that's a withdrawal. And when you're in seasons where you are moving forward, God is calling you higher, He's calling you deeper, He's calling you into something that is new and bigger than anything you've ever stepped into. You've got to have as much of your heartstrings in place and not have, too much of yourself overextended or overcommitted because it will reveal something about who you are, who you say you are, where your values are, what your morals are, and how you want to show up in the world. That will be revealed in those seasons where God is stretching you or calling you elsewhere. So, that is what I wanted to share with you guys about my experience with just revealing and removing and how I'm still in it, still going through it. It's been really good, but some days it has been really hard. And on the days where it's hard, I get my rest and I hydrate. I listen to scriptures, I listen to worship music, I eat a lot, I fuel my body with good quality foods. And I just wait it out just to see, like, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? You've revealed this to me, you've removed this person, you've removed this opportunity, or you put me in a situation where I had to say no to an opportunity. What else do you have for me? What do you need me to do now? And what is my next assignment? So I hope that you have found value in this episode. Please make sure that you share it out with someone who needs it. If you don't have the book Thought Life Confessions, go ahead and get it at cbrewerconsulting.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.